061 2803 2026 on the UK time. It's JTV. The title of this video is Trump surges in polls. Tiger Woods and Kash Patel are in a conversation. I think Pandora's box is about to open. Intro.
on beating all of those frauds that try to compete with you at a certain time of the evening. You're a little earlier, but I will tell you the numbers are incredible. Your numbers and their numbers are incredibly bad.
Yes.
And they deserve it. They have no talent, but congratulations.
Thank you, Mr. President. So we all have a bunch of questions. I'm sure we'll get to one of them. I want to ask you, like, how do you deal with people who might be disappointed because they voted, let's say they voted for you on the assumption of no wars, and then this happens and it's inconsistent with their wishes? What would you say to them?
Well, I have to do something in terms of making America great and keeping America great. And when you have lunatics with nuclear weapons and the power is beyond belief, I will tell you, as a president, I get to see it. My uncle was a great professor at MIT, and he knew more about nuclear at the time than anybody. He told me stories that were horrible in terms of the power, both beautiful in terms of putting it to good use, but really bad for destruction purposes. And his statements from years ago were, he really got it. He really got it. He was a highly respected man. He was there for 41 years at MIT as a great professor, and he taught nuclear, and nobody knew too much about it. And he said exactly what it was all about. And you can't let a madman, or you can't let a have a nuclear weapon. And we hit, as you know, we hit 50.
So, Trump's uncle, so that's John G. Trump, New Yorker, born in the Bronx, 1907, August the 21st, the youngest of 3 children born to German immigrants. Graduating, remained at the MIT, research associate, became an assistant professor in 1936. His research focused on improving high voltage generators and finding new uses for them in industry. So had an effect on the young Trump. Like many of us, you have elders. Like growing up, I have to really appreciate my family experience. I had lots of uncles and aunties, and really shaped me as an individual. So it's very important, and people with a fractured family settings. I mean, I don't know what it's like because I never came from that, but being a snob, and I feel that's something that's lacking in today's society. The family structure, and so that's an appeal for people, especially the younger ones. They need a lot of nature and care, and they need role models to look up to. Anyway, back to Trump.
$50,000 in the Dow. Everyone said it would be impossible in 4 years. I hit it in my first year. We hit 7,000 in the S&P, and everyone said that would be even more impossible. We hit it in my first year. And I said, we have to take a little bit of a detour. We have to take a little journey to a place called Iran, where these mad people were going to have a nuclear weapon, and they could do tremendous damage, not only to the Middle East and Israel, but also to our country, because we would be next. And I said, we're going to take a little detour and we're going to go and we're going to knock them out. And that's what we've done. We have the greatest military in the world. And it started with the B 2 bombers, which made it impossible for them to do the nuclear. They would have had, if we didn't hit them with the B 2 bombers like 8 months ago, if we didn't do that, they would have right now a nuclear weapon and they would have used it by this time. And it also happened with Barack Hussein Obama, if you've ever heard of him. Barack Hussein Obama, terrible president, absolutely a divider and a terrible president. And when he did the Iran nuclear deal, he gave them a path to a nuclear weapon within a short period of time. They would have had a nuclear weapon a few years ago, and they would have used it on Israel. They would have used it on the Middle East. And you saw that when this all started. They had no huge problem with, no tremendous problem with Saudi Arabia and Qatar. And you take a look, and UAE, Kuwait, Oman, they had no problem with them. They were doing fine, and yet they hit them with, in the case of UAE, 1,400 missiles, ballistic missiles. And what they were going to do is they were going to hit the Middle East, and they would have hit it with nuclear if they had it, because they're stone cold crazy. So in order to keep our country great, I said, we're going to take a fairly short detour. We're going to show everybody that there's nobody even coming close to us militarily. Nobody even comes close. We have the greatest weapons. We have the strongest military. And I rebuilt it. I built and rebuilt our military in my first term, and I got to use it a little bit more than I would have liked to be able, because we had Venezuela, and now we have this. But we're going to keep our country safe. You can't let this happen to us or, frankly, anybody else in the world. We're doing a big service to the world.
Mr. President, Kayleigh McEnany here. I do want to ask you about the breaking news. You just put out on Truth Social that you will be pausing energy plant destruction by 10 days to Monday, April 6th at 8 p.m. Eastern time because the negotiations are going very well. I would never ask you to reveal to the public specifics, but could you broadly characterize where we are at?
Well, the Iranians asked me to do that, and I was not happy with them because I made a statement that we're having productive negotiations. I don't know that they get there. Maybe they do. Maybe they won't. I mean, look, in a certain sense, we've already won because we've knocked out their Navy. We've knocked out their Air Force, completely knocked out their Air Force, just about completely knocked out. We knocked out 154 ships, and pretty good ships. In fact, I said, why don't we just take them instead of sinking them? We could have used them ourselves, right? But they
I mean, that would be a good idea. Why would you destroy a perfectly good bit of kit? So I think I understand to limit the enemy's capabilities, but he said it himself. Why not? Why not? Why not have the Iranians Navy? Let's have a look and see what the Navy's saying. So we have a report from the BBC here, and it's gone unavailable. Yeah. All right, so that's gone unavailable. Wonder why. You see? Right. So maybe the Mirror still has it up, has it? Let's have a look quickly. Alright, so renaming the Strait of Hormuz, maybe the Strait hitting of the nuclear complex. Yeah, 1 million troops ready to be deployed for the ground invasion, for if a ground invasion occurs. and power plants have been threatened with oblivion. Right. So as you can see, missiles are being intercepted here. They reckon fire breaks out in Abu Dhabi. Debris falls from the sky. I'm a peacemaker. More missiles sound in northern Israel. Occupied West Bank. Fatalities. US troops injured. Trump's next. Yeah. Iran's Navy. Let's have a look and see. I want my co-pilot up. Co-pilot not working. So we have the blue water and regional operations, Gulf of Oman, Indian Ocean and the Red Sea. Large surface vessels such as frigates, corvettes and destroyers. Submarines as well. Kilo class and Fatah class. 18,000 personnel. 7 frigates. 9 corvettes, 6 submarines. 24 amphibious ships, 21 patrol boats. Long-range deployment capabilities, including transatlantic missions, like the Iris Makran, right? Controls the Persian Gulf and the Straits of Hormuz. Fast attack craft swarms, naval mines, coastal anti-ship missiles, drones, and small boats attacks. Right, so here's your, the mix of British designs and indigenous upgrades. Yeah, your corvettes, submarines, amphibious, patrol boats, fast attacking crafts, capabilities, anti-ship missiles, ballistic missiles, submarine warfare, asymmetric attacks. Yeah, right, disrupting shipping, fast boats attacks, drone surveillance, strike platforms. So it's been inflicted heavy losses. Yeah. Iran have also claimed that it's been significantly degraded. However, it's continued to launch missiles and drone attacks. Bottom line, highly effective in its home region. So it's not I wouldn't say Navy battle, right? Because we're not out on the sea, right? It's not a Navy battle. You're actually in their area and quite a limited, as in movements, right? The Straits of Hormuz, right? So mobility is restricted in this area, in the Straits of Hormuz. Yeah. Let's have a look at the straits where they are. And for me, this kind of this reliance on this like this aircraft carriers and that, for me, I don't see warfare as that anymore. I think that's a bygone age for me, right? For myself, it's more to do with drones and just waiting for this to load up. Yeah, like the Straits of Hormuz. Let's go back. Seems to stop working at the moment. So as I said, it's so tight. You know, this area is so tight. You know, in the middle of the ocean here. You know, so if you can stop a oil tanker, which I presume is smaller than the aircraft carrier, then how are you going to be able to even maneuver this large vessel in the Straits of Hormuz? And I also say that the Iranians are showing some sort of restraint from attacking this vessel, which is, for me, it's just sitting there. It's just sitting there. It's a tragedy waiting to happen, right? It's a tragedy, and so I feel the theatre of war has changed, as we saw in Ukraine. Okay, Ukraine are battling a larger army, right? And you have a military strategy, okay, like with a larger force being forced into like a bottlenose, yeah, a bottlenose, right? So you got a bottlenose effect here. So it's more hangs in the balance. More hangs in the balance of Iran, the Straits of Hormuz, right? Plus, you have these. You may have got rid of the bigger vessels, but the bigger vessels are more used in open water, I would have said. They're more used for missions that are far from home. You wouldn't want to have your vessels in this area. So the reluctance of anyone wanting to join this mission it's not a personal one. It's kind of it's a it's like going against military intelligence strategy. Why would you place your vessels in an area like this, where your vessel is more used for a I would have said more open waters? Yes, you can use the vessel to launch attacks off, right? You can, obviously, you got your planes, your helicopters, your smaller vessels around your aircraft carrier, but it, for me, I don't see the sense in. Or you could launch drones, but again, you would more want it into an area where you could say maneuver, but the movement is restricted in this area. So for me, it's more hanging in the favour of the Iranians at this precise time, right? So we can say Trump has limited their capabilities. So let's go back to the video, right? Let's go back to the video of Trump on Fox News with the five. So Iran, Iran, Iran has responded with they've responded, right? Iran response to the plant attacks, right? Right. To the plant attacks. Okay, have I been sharing the wrong? Hang on, have I been sharing? I might have to I don't know what. I might have been sharing the wrong page there. My apologies there. Get a bit carried away. So the threat is that he's gonna hit the power plants of Iran, and Iran have responded and said that they're gonna be hitting American companies, and also interests of America, and also they're gonna hit back. I think it's Israel's power plants as well. So the position of Iran is retaliation, and for me their positioning is good. Their positioning, because when it comes to international law, as it stands now, they are just retaliating. They're retaliating. They're retaliating to the attacks, right? And the aggressor is more placed on the states. The states. Now, they may have the capabilities and the nuclear, but that is a scenario. It didn't happen, or it has not happened. So it's slight paranoia, which is it is it is a concern. It is a concern if they have capabilities. So as it stands, with that threat, again, I feel Iran is in a better position, in concerns to attacks on the power plants. They've responded, and also they've said that they're not corresponding with America. Okay, so they are fairly defiant at this moment in time. So I think Trump is now talking about the I'll come to that. I want to get back to where he was talking um about Iran. Let's go back there. Okay, do it step by step. Ah, I'm gonna do it a different way. I'm gonna do it a different way now because I'm tired of this thing not working like that. Let me go to uh the audio here. I'm fed up with this thing now. I'm fed up. I'm gonna do it a different way. I'm gonna do it a different way now because I'm tired of this thing not working like that.
Strong lumberjacks. They like Trump, but she wins the other part of Maine, and I hope she wins because we have to hate Fox polls. Honestly, whoever does your polls, they're terrible. Rupert Murdoch has promised good chips. In fact, I said, why didn't we just take them instead of sinking them? We could have used them ourselves, right? But they like showing how tough they are. They like them at the bottom of the sea, probably a little bit better. But think of it. We knocked out their Navy. We knocked out their Air Force. We knocked out most of their missiles. They're down to about 9%. We knocked out their missile launchers, which is a big deal because without the missile launchers, the missiles don't do very well. You can't go to your window and say, let's throw a missile out of the air. And we knocked out all of their communications, their telecommunications, and very importantly, we knocked out their anti-aircraft apparatus, which was very good, but it didn't last long because we hit it the second night, and we're just free flying right over the middle of Tehran, do whatever we want. And one other thing we knocked out was their leaders. So we knocked out the supreme leader, as they called him, Khomeini. We then knocked out. They then named another one. We knocked them out, and we knocked out part of the third group. And we're just holding for the rest. We know where they all are. And it's one country that does not want to be, you have very few people want to be the leader. You know, everyone wants to be president of the United States. Everyone wants to be president or whatever, prime minister of a certain country. There are not a lot of takers to be the head of Iran right now. I will tell you, they're all fighting not to. We don't want that position. But they asked me if they would, Kaylee, importantly, they said to me, very nicely, through my people, could we have more time? Because we're talking about tomorrow night, which is pretty quick. And if they don't do what they have to do, I will knock out their power plants. And he said, does that include nuclear? Because they have nuclear, plenty of money. They have a lot of money, and they built nuclear and they built regular power plants, but they're massive and very expensive, billions of dollars. And so I gave them a 10-day period. They asked for 7. You're going to say, oh, Trump's a terrible negotiator. They asked for 7, and I said, I'm going to give you 10 because they gave me ships. We talked about the 8 ships, the president that I talked about the other day. But they asked for 7, and I gave them 10. You got 10 days, and they were very thankful about that. Now, they may say, oh, we're not speaking. That I don't like that because that wasn't true the last time, as you found out. But we are speaking, and it's going fairly well, and so I gave them 10 days.
Well, that was nice. You're very generous, Mr. President. It's Kennedy.
I am.
Yeah. So you talk about some of the people in Iran who are left in the regime. They don't want to be the supreme leader because they know it's probably a short-term position. There are a lot of Democrats in this country who would like to be president. They would like to succeed you, and they are using this war as a battering ram. People like Seth Moulton, who ran in 2024, he is saying that, 2020, he's saying you are losing this war. And my question for you, in terms of people who may be giving back on the Democrat side and even some within your own party, what does winning this war look like?
Well, we've already won the war. Militarily, we totally won the war. We even knocked out all their they call them mine droppers. They drop. How'd you like to have a country that has 22 ships that do nothing but drop mines in the water? You're off to a bad start when you hear that. Now, a guy like Moulton, I don't know who he is. I don't think I ever met him, but he's a loser. I mean, I watch him on television. He's a total loser. And they use this, I watch poor Chuck. I mean, Chuck Schumer is a great Palestinian, represents the Palestinian nation right now. He's no longer Jewish, I guess. What he's done to the Jewish people is incredible. They hate him. But remember this. They are good at one thing, sticking together. They have horrible policy, and they lie. And, they did everything they could to beat me. I won 3 times. Unfortunately, the election was rigged the second time, and everybody knows it. And now all the proof is coming out. It's coming out loud and clear. We won by millions of votes a second time. But I don't talk about it. I go on to the, let's do it again. If I didn't think I won the second time, I knew I won by a lot. I wouldn't have run the third time because, that's like the ultimate poll. But I knew how well we did the second time. But the third time we made it too big to rig. So for those people that say the level of popularity, CNN, your friends at CNN, fake news CNN, one of the worst networks you'll ever see, one of the most dishonest, disgusting groups of people. But what happened is they did a poll, and the poll came out yesterday or day before. And is Trump losing MAGA support? The poll was 1%. And their pollster, he's got a lot of energy, and he's pretty good. He probably won't have a job very long. But he said, whoa. It was 100% of the people, the MAGA people, and which is mostly almost the whole Republican Party, you want to know the truth. Almost everybody endorsed wins. Almost every single person that I endorse wins. And Kaylee knows that better than anybody. She was witness to it for a long time. Mm-hmm. And she's doing a good job, by the way. But almost everybody. So they did a poll at CNN 2 days ago. And I think you probably saw it. Maybe you put it on. But it was 100% support. So it's wrong. We have people that are weak or stupid or low IQ people that don't mind having Iran have a nuclear weapon. The MAGA people are smart. Now, that doesn't mean they want us over there for, like Bush, for years, just for years. I always said, don't go into Iraq, but if you do, keep the oil. Well, we are a very powerful military. We're the most powerful military nation in the world, and we did a big number on them. And our people like it because they don't want to see us 100%, think of it, 100% in a CNN poll. A CNN poll, which are the worst polls, almost as bad as Fox polls. I hate Fox polls. Honestly, whoever does your polls, they're terrible. Rupert Murdoch has promised me for years he's going to get rid of your pollster, but he doesn't do it. I don't get it. But your Fox polls are terrible. But the pollsters that are good have me leading by a lot and leading every candidate. If I'd love to run, but there's some things you can't do in life, I guess, not allowed to do. But we're very popular. I mean, what can I say? MAGA loves the fact that they're not going to have somebody with a nuclear bomb over their head. MAGA loves the fact, like in Venezuela, everyone said, oh, this is going to be very unpopular. Well, we're now taking in hundreds of millions of barrels of oil from Venezuela, and we're giving them a lot, and we're keeping a lot, and Venezuela is doing better than they've ever done. We had 100 million barrels of oil in the first week. We more than paid for the entire attack in fact, we made it probably 4 or 5 times more than the cost of that attack. But it showed the military power. I mean, the war was over in 45 minutes. And that's a strong military. If you go to Venezuela, everybody wears a uniform, all right? There are a lot of people. But we're getting along great with them. Now, MAGA loves it because we're there and we're participating, and it's one of the most valuable oil sites or oil countries in the world, just behind us. We're producing now more oil than Saudi Arabia and Russia put together, and we don't need the Hormuz Strait. What bothers me is that countries that don't do anything about it. We're actually doing this for other countries. We don't need it. We did 1%. We don't have to do anything. We don't need the 1%. I think we did it just because we wanted to be nice to them. We don't need it. But I think I'm more popular than I ever have been. Look, when he heard 100%, he said, I've never seen a poll like this. This is the craziest poll I've ever seen. It was 100% of the people. And the reason is they like that I'm protecting our country from lunatics with a nuclear weapon.
Mr. President, the next time you do this on the 5, can we have you on set? Because we really want you to sit next to Jess. I think you'd be a good influence on her. Can you do that?
Well, I think I watch Jessica, and I'm not a fan. And she uses fake numbers. She'll give Well, he's only polling 42%. That's not right. Polling very high, actually. Polls are just like, I hate people that use fake polls because polls are just like bad journalists. Bad journalists, they write fake stories. Well, fake polls do damage also. But that's the thing. I'm sure I'd like her. I'm sure she's a lovely person.
Yeah, she's a lovely person. She really misses the fact that she's not here. I get it.
Yeah.
We're working on her. Don't worry.
Now tell me, did she not want to do it, or
No,
did you kick her off the show?
We didn't kick her off. Previous schedule that she couldn't change. But let me ask you about Iran. You kind of suggested that we'd knocked out Ayatollah Jr. Have we? And did the CIA tell you that Ayatollah Jr. is gay?
Well, I don't know if it was only them. I think a lot of people are saying that, which puts them off to a bad start in that particular country. I sort of have to smile to myself when I see people trying to defend the Palestinian regime for women for Palestine, but they kill women if you don't wear a certain if you don't wear certain cloth all over your face, you have no chance of living. And, when I look at gays for Palestine, but they kill gays. They kill them instantly. They throw them off buildings. And I'm saying, who are the gays for Palestine? And they have a significant amount of gays for Palestine. Now, I think I did very well with the gay vote, okay? I even played the gay national anthem as my walk-off, okay, for my campaign. And I think it probably helped me, but I did great with no Republicans ever gotten the gay vote like I did, and I'm very proud of it. I think it's great. Perhaps it's because I'm from New York City. I don't know, but the gay name is my walk-off, and I think it probably had. But think of it, gays for Palestine, but they kill gays in Palestine. So when they hear that, I think probably we can come out of it.
Hi, Mr. President. It's Dana. And
hi, Dana.
I think it is alarming that we have not been able to see or hear from any of the Iranian people. And I imagine that is because, and I think there is some generally some terribly and killed tens of thousands of them in January. Do you have any insight as to how they are doing?
I do, but first you may be even better looking. Okay, so I don't know what you're doing. Political career. You don't have to say a woman's beautiful, and Jesse. You got to be careful.
Jesse's always in trouble.
No, he's borderline on this
Yes.
stuff. I mean, he's really. But no, it was great. I remember it very well. And look, in my opinion, what's happened, they're petrified because the one side has guns, and they have very nasty guns. They have the worst guns and machine guns. And what they do is they shoot you. And the people are brave, but they're not brave when they see people going down left and right. No matter who you are, I don't care how brave, unless you're really sort of stupid, you can't really protest. And the only reason they're not protesting is because they're one after another. And they're doing it with snipers in buildings. Not that they have to be snipers because they have, free range. But it started with the women. You remember we had 250,000 women? Well, they had women being shot right between the eyes from snipers, 4 or 5 snipers in buildings pretty high up and a little far away. And when you see, and you're a woman or you're a man, frankly, and you see a person dropping to the ground, bleeding from the brain badly, and then you see another one on the other side, and then you'll see 5 or 6 or 7. That's all it took. You run, and they ran, and they never came back. And if you noticed, about 2 weeks ago, they put out a notice that if you protest, we will shoot you. They kill him. Look what they did to the wrestler. They killed him for speaking up. They killed him. He was a star wrestler. Great, actually. Iran has great wrestlers. And he was a star, one of the best. And they killed him because he spoke up. spoke against the regime, which is largely decimated. There is, you could really say we have regime change because they've all been killed. They're all dead. Nobody really knows. The reason they gave us the 8 ships is I wanted them to prove that we're dealing with somebody that's allowed to deal. And they say, we will give you a present. And the present was 8 ships. We're going to give you 8 ships. And they actually made it 10. There was 8. And I heard on one of your shows 2 days ago in the morning, a very good show hosted by very good people, Fox and Friends. And by the way, I have to say, Maria's great. You got a lot of great people, you switch back and forth. Maria's great. You have so many great people, a couple of bad ones, but you can't have everything. You have a couple of lousy ones, but you can't have everything. But I watched on the show in the morning. They said, it's very surprising. There are 8 ships coming up the strait, and it's exactly what they told us they were going to give. And then they added 2 more. And that proved to me that we're dealing with the right people. But then they didn't want to say that publicly. And I said, well, you should say it publicly. And now they are saying it publicly.
Mr. President, let's shift on to other topics. I'm debating whether to be serious or not serious. I'm going to get serious.
Do you think Biden would do this interview? Can you
No.
Sleepy Joe?
No.
way.
It would have ended in the first 12 seconds.
It's correspondence dinner for the first time, and you're going to attend. Why wasn't I asked to do the roast?
Well, I would love it. I accept it. If they would do that, I would accept that 100%. But, because right from the beginning, I was treated rather to it, and I was so I didn't do it. And it was very nice. I loved it. I really, my wife. I always say, there's no room in one family. Serious. I love this. I'm having a good time. The joke was about me, and I can handle stuff. And they said, set with that evening that I decided that evening to run for president. Well, it wasn't, but it was at the White House dinners, and I actually enjoyed it. But I never did it, and I said, I'll do it now. We had a great election victory. We won the popular vote. We won. If you take a look at the counties in America, 87% of the counties in America. That's why when you look at, they go by counties when they do the coloring, and you look at a map of the United States, it's all red except for 2 little blue lines along the edge. If you look at the little New York and a little California, and I think California, I think would have no mail-in voting in California, and the right person, the right Republican, could send out like 13 ballots. A lot of them Democrats. In many cases, you get 3, 4. The highest number I've heard was Republicans are there calling for their ballot. They're saying, "Do you have my ballot, please?" So anyway, but we won 86% of the counties in America. So it was like a great election, and I don't know. I think as bad as they've been better to me than they were in the first 4 years. It's hard to be bad. We will soon. You'll see. I mean, we had up until I decided to make this little journey, as we talk about, to Iran. We've had the best economy ever. We have $18 trillion being invested in our country. No country's ever had 3. The record is 3. Happened to be China many years ago, 10 years ago. We have 18 coming in, and they're building plants all over the United States. I mean, I just left the head of Micron. It's one of the hottest companies. But you have Jensen, you have people. They're all building plants one after another. I'm making it possible for them to do it. We're getting them the permits rapidly. We're letting them build their own electric because we have an old grid system that wouldn't allow it. So we're letting them build their own electric plants. They're building electric plants for every one of their big buildings because they're mad we wouldn't be able to supply that kind of power. They need the new factories in this country need more than double the electricity that we currently have for the whole nation. Everything. Think of it, more than double. We need twice as much electricity. And what we're doing is saying, you build it yourself. This way they can't complain. But we're getting them fast approvals. Lee Zeldin is doing a great job.
Mr. President, Kaylee again, two things happen tomorrow. TSA misses their second paycheck, $1 billion in missed paychecks, and Congress is set to go on a spring break vacation. Thune says he's given his last and final offer to Democrats, and you tweeted out today, terminate the filibuster. Thune said, I got a call this morning to that effect from the president. Things stand with TSA, and should Republicans nuke the filibuster to do it?
Well, look, I like John Thune, and it's not easy for him because he's got 3 or 4 people in there that, I'm not big fans of, frankly, and that don't vote for us like they should. You have, perhaps I shouldn't mention their names, but you have 3 or 4 people that I am not at all fans of, and it's not an easy job for John. And I'm telling you, the Democrats, the one thing that they stick together. They don't have like Massey, who's just a congressman. They don't have Rand Paul. I call Massey Rand Paul Jr. They both come from Rand Paul Jr. Never votes. No matter what. You can give him voter ID and 5 other things that are figure out a way not to vote. There's something wrong with the guy. Rand votes. Rand said Trump is one of the greatest presidents in the history of our country. And I called him and I said, I'd rather have the statement back. Just give us your vote. But, I sort of like the guy, but he just doesn't vote for the good things. It's just crazy. He wants to be a libertarian, I guess. I'm fine with libertarians. I'm sort of a libertarian myself. But you have others. You have Murkowski from Alaska. I've given Alaska probably more. She's a very difficult person, very, very, very terrible person, to be honest with you. And you have Collins. And I won half. I win the lumberjack and the fisherman. I win those big, strong lumberjacks. They like Trump. But she wins the other Maine, and I hope she wins because we have to. She's a good person, actually. But we have to win. We have to keep the majority. Otherwise, all of the things that we've done are going to go down the tubes. But I would terminate the filibuster, and I'd take a vote, and I'd have everything done, and I'd vote on voter ID, and I'd vote on citizenship. I'd vote on no mail-in ballots other than if you're, military or you're ill or you're traveling. I'll be generous about it, but no mail-in ballots are inherently dishonest. Jimmy Carter said that. The greatest thing Jimmy Carter ever did was after he got out of office. Because his tenure in office was not good. He did something that is horrible. He gave away a thing called the Panama Canal for $1. This was perhaps the worst deal ever made. The Panama Canal for $1 was not good. It was I don't know if you know, Panama Canal was the most expensive thing, if you bring it to current dollars, ever built in the history of our country, in the history of the world. And it was a massive, we lost 38,000 people because of the mosquito and a particularly vicious snake. This was not a friendly area. This was not a hospitable climate for the climate change people. And they built the Panama, but they lost 38,000 American lives were lost. And it was the most, at the time, it's the equivalent to $5 trillion today. And he gave it away for $1. It's also very profitable, by the way, always was very, very profitable. Should never have given it away. So, I like to see things done. I would like to see the filibuster turn great. And here's the one thing, and I saw Greg say this the other night, and I do like his show. I like all of your shows, actually. I'm glad Jessica's not there. Because I think your show would be better without her. But, who am I to say that? Isn't that terrible? I think it would be a lot better. But, Kennedy, you're doing an excellent job. But, filibuster that would give us right to vote, and we wouldn't need the Democrat votes. And you have a couple of this, and you all said it. They are going to vote for it. If they ever get in a position where they get the presidency, and hope that doesn't happen because they would destroy what we built. But if they ever got in a position where they got the majorities in the presidency, in the first hour, maybe the first day, but I think the first hour. And when you know that, why are they doing this? They should vote on the filibuster, and they should approve everything, and they should also get voter ID and all of those other things that I said. For instance, men and women's sports voted in just voted in. We're winning it anyway, but voted in. They're like 100. You know, I love when they say they're 80-20. They're not 80-20. They're 98-2. And vote this stuff in. Democrats stick together, and the Republicans. It only takes 3 or 4 people, and we have a few beauties.
Mr. President, speaking of mosquitoes and snakes, Gavin Newsom, Kamala Harris, they're both on book tour, taking some shots at each other. Kamala took a shot in her book on Gavin. This is sound of Gavin reacting to that. Listen to this. Go.
Why don't you guys like each other?
No, quite the contrary.
So BFFs.
That goes back 20 plus years ago. I think the press and pundits want to make something of that, and so they try to color it in. She gave me a little shot as it relates to the actual truth of the walk I was on. She added that in. I think it graded some color for the book. It certainly helped her book sales. Not my component part. It's done unbelievably well.
Did you read it?
I did not fully read it. I've got it. I've read excerpts. I admit, Kamala, I have not fully absorbed the book.
So who do you think is going to rise to the top, Newsom or Harris?
Well, first of all, he said he can't read. Okay. You know, he did an interview. I have no idea who did the interview. I've never seen the gentleman. I'm sure he's excellent. But he did an interview a couple of weeks ago that was maybe the worst interview for a professional politician that I've ever seen. He said he can't read his speech. He said things on his brain. He's got bad board scores. He's got bad this. And then in the room, and he said something to the effect, just like you people. And he ends up being called a racist because of that statement. This was the worst interview, but he admitted that he was a stupid person as president. And if you watch him with the hands and everything else, there's something wrong with the guy. He's a nice-looking guy, but he's losing the look. He's losing it. It happens. It happens. It's all right. He's losing the look. And, you know, we want an intelligent person. He admits that he suffers from mental disability. He admits it. And somebody said, a fake reporter said to me, well, it's not fair that you talk about he's mentally disabled. I said, yeah, but he said mentally disabled. I think it's fine. I just don't want it in a president. Okay? We have enough problems. We just had that, by the way. We went through 4 years of that, and look what it got us. Not good. Not good.
Good.
It got us Sleepy Joe.
Hi, it's Dana again. So I have a kind of a pop culture question for you.
Okay.
So I'm new to New York, relatively speaking. So 15. All of these young people across America are watching Love Story, which is the story of JFK Jr. and Carolyn Bessette. And I'm curious, Did you know JFK Jr. and do you have any nostalgia for the 90s?
So a little bit, but actually I love the 80s a little more than the 90s. The 90s I was fighting hard. You know, we were in sort of a depression, countrywide depression. And depressions aren't great when you're in the real estate business, but I did great in it. I did well. I always made money. I made money in good times and bad times, but it was it was a sort of a nasty time economically a lot of the nights. But I actually knew him and liked him, and he liked me, believe it or not. He actually put me on the cover of his magazine, George. And I got to be friendly with him, and he would go down to Mar-a-Lago with me and with Carolyn. It was a tragic thing. Look, he was going to sell that magazine, which was, a little bit of an anchor. It didn't work out too well. But it was okay, but it was fine. Today, magazines are not doing too well, but in those days, they'd be all right. It was all right, but it wasn't great, and it wasn't good for him. His mother he wanted to be a Broadway actor more than any other thing. He wanted to be a Broadway. I knew him very well, actually. He liked me. Can you believe it? He liked me. And I liked him. He's a very handsome guy. He was a handsome guy. You don't get better looking than. He was going to run for politics. He was going to run for the Senate. He told me. And nobody would have beaten him. And he probably would have ended up being president because he had a lot of good things. He was sort of a great guy. I knew them both pretty well. I knew him much better. They would go down to Mar-a-Lago together, and they had a very interesting relationship. They would bicker. I want to be nice. They would bicker together. They would, in other words, have little fights, and then they'd make up and start kissing wildly. So it was one of those relationships, and you never know how those relationships are going to turn out. Frankly, I've seen them go on for years, and I've seen them go on for about 2 days before they broke up. But they would bicker like few people I've ever seen. But the bottom line is, and every woman loved him. He was a truly good-looking guy that was a nice guy, and I think he would have been the senator easily. I mean, easily. And he's going to run for the Senate in New York, and I think he would have gone on perhaps to be the president.
Mm. Well, someone who's a little less charming than JFK Jr., God rest his soul, Jimmy Kimmel,
Right.
one of those lackluster late-night hosts, took aim at your new DHS chief. Let's hear what he had to say last night about Mark Wayne Mullen.
He's got a whole new generation of thinkers lined up, including his newly confirmed Secretary of Homeland Security, Mark Wayne, Chuck Mike, Bruce Dave Mullen. Maybe Mellon's better. He is the now former senator of Oklahoma. Before he was elected to the Senate, Mark Wayne Mullen was a low-level MMA fighter and a plumber. That's right. We have a plumber protecting us from terrorism now.
What do you think about those comments?
Well, I've watched this guy. He's a loser. He gets no ratings, none. He's got no talent. He's got Trump derangement syndrome. I mean, I whenever I watch, I just can't believe that he's even on the air. He shouldn't be on the air. In the old days when you didn't have good ratings or you didn't have any ratings practically, you get fired. He should be canned. Mark Wayne is fantastic. He became very successful. He took over a small company from his parents, and he made it very, very successful. Made money. He was also a very good fighter, very, very good fighter. I never heard low-level MMA. I mean, if you fight these guys, these are rough cookies. And if you fight, and he had a good record, he had a very good record in fighting. But that's unimportant. But he is sort of a fighter. But more than anything, I call him country smart. He's a very smart guy. He's got a great way. Everybody loves him. He got a couple of Democrat votes, which is shocking nowadays, right? But everybody loves him, and I think he's going to do a fantastic job. He's got a great way about him, and people respect him a lot.
Mr. President, could I ask, where are you right now? I know that may be a weird question. Are you in the Oval Office?
I'm in the Oval Office. I'm usually there waiting for a call. How are we doing on Iran? How are we doing in Venezuela? How are we doing in all different things, all different aspects? I cover a lot of different topics. No, I love the Oval Office. It's the greatest office anywhere in the world. I have people come in, the biggest people in the world, presidents and prime ministers and the biggest business people, and they walk into the office and you really are at an advantage because they are so freaked out by the Oval Office. They can't believe it, that they're there. No, it's the most precious piece of real estate in the world. And we're building a ballroom. They've been after one for 150 years, and we're building what will be, I think, the best anywhere in the world. It'll be unbelievable. And, it's interesting. You have the preservation, essentially, this group, preservation, a group of preservation. They sue me for that. They sue me because the Trump Kennedy Center, I'm fixing it. It's in horrible shape, actually dangerous shape, with steel that's rusting and rotting, roofs that are falling in, rain is pouring. It's the worst thing you've ever seen. It's going to be incredible. They sue me. But they don't sue the guy that's billions of dollars over budget and actually destroyed the Federal Reserve building. That's Jerome Too Late Powell. I said, did they sue him? I build under budget, ahead of schedule. And by the way, there's no cost. I'm building the ballroom, and it's a very big thing with the military and everything else. Military is very much involved. It's a big, big deal, and it's great. It's going to be beautiful. But you would think that they'd go after a guy who's destroyed the Federal Reserve building. Beautiful. Now the most beautiful part of it. I would have done that for $25 million. That it would have been gorgeous, and $1 billion mark for a renovation of a small little complex. It's a little complex, and I say, why aren't you suing Powell? And they don't know. They have no idea. But we're building a beautiful. It'll be I think, one beautiful ballroom, maybe the most beautiful ballroom anywhere in the world, and it's very much the White House, and the White House deserves it. But presidents for 150 years wanted a ballroom. And many of you, I'm sure, were invited to big events where you have the president of China, you have France, our friend Macron, a wonderful friend, a wonderful friend, but he wasn't exactly there. He wasn't quick with the ships. When he heard we were fighting Iran, I wouldn't say he was quick to the draw. Donald, may I call you back next week? Oh, yes, I'll be back. Then they all say, no, we'll send them immediately. But I said, no, I don't need them anymore. We won. I don't need you anymore. I'd like you before we won, not after we won. But, you know, the people would have a tent, and the tent would have 1,000 people, because we have a very small room here, very small, much ridiculously small. And if it rained, the water would always go, because it's at a low point on the ground. It's the only place for the tent. And so if it rained hard, the water would be 4 or 5 inches off the ground. So you can see the president of China, President Xi, sitting there after having left one of the great ballrooms of the world, the Great Hall of China, they call it. It is sitting there with water over his ankles. Now we're giving them one of the, and by the way, no taxpayer money used at all for all this stuff. The Ark, we're doing a triumphal ark, which is, you know, the circle by the Arlington Bridge near Ontario. It's been wanted to be built for 175 years. A thing got in the way, a little event got in the way called the Civil War. The Civil War. They were going to build it, and then they had the Civil War, and that, I think it was a good excuse. But we're doing that. We're getting it built. It's going to be beautiful, and we're doing a lot of good
Could
things.
we ask you one last final question before we
Yes.
lose our show to Brett Baer?
Yes.
This comes from a very dear friend of mine. She's curious who you will be rooting for at the Masters.
Well, it's such a danger. I have so many friends that are top professional golfers. They're so good. Bryson DeChambeau, Rory McIlroy. I love Tiger, but he won't be there. He'll be there, but he won't be playing in it. I have so many friends, and they're such great players. They're such talented. They're long. You know, Jesse's going to be a good player. I saw Jesse hitting a ball a little while ago. Jesse's going to be okay. Not of this caliber quite, right, Jess?
I'm getting there.
Jesse's getting there.
I need a little more time. I have 2 shows. It's hard to get out there and swing.
And you haven't been playing that long. No, he's got some golf talent. But so I don't. They're just great players. So it's hard for me. If I pick somebody, I'm going to have enemies. I'll have 10 guys that no longer speak to me. But you have great talent. These are very talented. Scotty Scheffler is amazing. He's the number 1 ranked player. Bryson DeChambeau and the Live Tour. I mean, he's fantastic. So he's going in hot. Rory's hot. Great talents. It's one of my favorite events of all time.
And hers too. Anyway, thanks for taking that question. I had a feeling you would be smart to answer it.
Right. I have to be a politician, like when they say who's going to win the Super Bowl, stuff like that. So that's good. But it's a fair question.
President Trump, it was a pleasure speaking with you.
Thank you, Greg.
Have a great evening.
Thank you very much. Well, this was fun. I'm a big fan of all of you, and thank you. It's an honor to be with you.
Golfer Tiger Woods has been arrested and charged with driving under the influence after a car crash in Florida. The 15-time major winner was arrested after his car turned over while he was trying to overtake another vehicle. Let's get the latest from our correspondent Neda Tawfiq, who's following this for us in New York. What more do we know, Neda?
Well, Jane, this all took place just before 2 p.m. in the afternoon on a narrow road near Tiger Woods' Jupiter home in Florida. And police say that if oncoming traffic had been there, that this would have been far more dangerous. Luckily, there were no injuries. Take a listen to how the sheriff described the incident.
The pressure cleaner truck pulling a small trailer, was northbound on South Beach Road, and was pulling kind of to turn into a driveway. It was slowing down and starting to turn into a driveway. And the driver of that vehicle in his mirror and saw a Land Rover, a dark-colored Land Rover, overtaken at speeds, and I don't know those speeds. As he was trying to move to the side of the road, the Land Rover overtook him at the last minute, swerved to avoid a collision, but clipped the back end of the trailer of the pressure cleaner apparatus, listed to the side, and then rolled on the driver's door. The individual driving that Land Rover was able to crawl out the passenger door of the car and was identified to be Mr. Tiger Woods. Mr. Woods did exemplify signs of impairment. They did several tests on him. Of course, he did explain the injuries and the surgeries that he had. We did take that into account. But they did do some in-depth roadside tests. And when it was determined, he was placed under arrest and taken to the Martin County Jail. But when it came time for us to ask for a urinalysis test, he refused. And so he's been charged with DUI, with property damage, and refusal to submit to a lawful test.
Well, Jane, under Florida law, Tiger Woods will have to remain in jail for at least 8 hours before he can be released on bond. He will later, of course, get a chance to defend himself against those misdemeanor charges and is considered innocent until he does so. But anybody who knows the story of Tiger Woods knows that this golf legend has had to deal with these very public incident, car accidents, and very painful back surgeries. There, the sheriff alluding to some of those. Back in 2021 in Los Angeles, after a high-speed crash, Tiger Woods underwent numerous surgeries to his leg and ankle, and his first time being charged with driving under the influence was a few years before that, in 2017. Then toxicology reports found numerous substances in his system, and he ended up pleading guilty to driving recklessly and undergoing some addiction treatment. So, Jane, this another instance very publicly playing out for Tiger Woods. The sheriff there saying that he appeared lethargic, he appeared impaired, but beyond that, we have to wait to see how this will turn out for the star who had just returned back into the competitive circuit just a few days ago and hadn't yet confirmed if he would be playing in Augusta.
Flunked the field sobriety test, so they arrested him. They took him to jail, and they determined Tiger Woods is in big trouble. He has been arrested yet again for DUI. This happened in Jupiter, Florida, Friday at about 2 o'clock Eastern time. There was a pickup truck that was pulling into a driveway on a 2-lane road, and the pickup truck driver
looked in his rear view and saw this Range Rover roaring down the street going really, really fast. Tiger Woods was behind the wheel of that Range Rover. The pickup truck driver tried pulling into the driveway, but the Range Rover was going so fast it clipped the pickup, and the Range Rover flipped over on its side, on the driver's side. Tiger actually got out the passenger side window, and law enforcement showed up quickly. They weren't far away. And it was apparent to cops that Tiger was impaired. He was showing obvious signs, according to the sheriff. So they did some field sobriety tests. At the time, Tiger said, look, I've had numerous surgeries and I have medical problems from it. And that actually goes back to another incident in 2021 where Tiger also flipped his car and he almost lost his leg. But the sheriff says we took his medical issues into account, but he flunked the field sobriety test. So they arrested him. They took him to jail, and they determined he was not under the influence of alcohol. He had a 0.00 when it came to blood alcohol. So the sheriff believes this is medication. And they asked him to take a urine test, and he refused. So refusing is in its. So they have charged him both with DUI and with failure to take a urine test. By failing to take the urine test, he'll have his license suspended, probably for a year. But more seriously, is he could get jail time. And what is relevant here is that in 2017, Tiger got another DUI, previous one, in the same area. And in that case, the authorities say he was under the influence of medication. So,
welcome to my bank. Let's talk about.
For the breaking news, Reuters saying Iran-linked hackers are claiming they have breached the personal email inbox of FBI Director Kash Patel. Those hackers have published photographs of Patel along with his purported resume and what appears to be personal correspondence dating in 2019. But MS Now has not confirmed that any of those documents are legitimate, and DOJ's are Carol Leonnig. They do not know the detail. Joining us now, former CIA Director and MS Now Senior National Security and Intelligence Analyst John Brennan, and Jane Harman, former Congresswoman and Ranking Member on the House Intelligence Committee and President Emerita and Distinguished Fellow at the Woodrow Wilson International Center for Scholars. Welcome to you both. Director Brennan, how concerning is this report? And we want to point out the hack does not cover his time as FBI Director, but it does allegedly cover the time he worked in national security and counterterrorism at DOJ, and depending on how far into 2019, possibly his time on the National Security Council.
Well, Alex, the Iranians have very, very sophisticated cyber capabilities, both from the standpoint of collection as well as disruption. And I'm sure that the war ongoing right now with Iran has led to an increase in their efforts and determination to target a number of individuals with their cyber hacks and capabilities. The Iranians are engaged in such activities. We've had to face it for the past 10 or 15 years in terms of what the Iranians have been able to do. And given that, the FBI director is a high-profile target, it's again, not surprising that the Iranians would do something like this. But again, I have to underscore just how sophisticated the Iranians have become and their ability to do things like this.
Do you have any concerns, sir, that it was beyond just being an embarrassment for Kash Patel and that could enter the realm of compromising national security?
Well, again, it depends on what the Iranians have been able to access, whether it's against Kash Patel or others, and to see whether or not what they have been able to obtain gives them some type of insight into national security matters. But again, the reporting is that these were older emails from Kash Patel. So again, it's unclear exactly what the Iranians might have. But again, I think other officials also need to be extra vigilant during these times.
So Congresswoman, this comes after the president announced that he is once again delaying attacks on Iran's power plants. He's extending the deadline for them to reopen the Strait of Hormuz, this time by 10 days. Here's what the president had to say. Take a listen.
Well, the Iranians asked me to do that, and I was not happy with them because I made a statement that we're having productive negotiations. I don't know that they get there. Maybe they do, maybe they won't. And so I gave them a 10-day period. They asked for 7. You're going to say, oh, Trump's a terrible negotiator. They asked for 7, and I said, I'm going to give you 10 because they gave me ships.
So that 7 versus 10 days, is this about Trump giving Iran more time or giving himself more time?
It's probably about both, but let me add to John's answer before, which is that not only do the Iranians have great cyber capability, but we have dumbed down our cyber defenses, both at DHS, DOJ, and DOD. That's been a Trump priority. Experts have been moved out. And so what happens next time? And by the way, your reporting was that Reuters found this out because the Iranians claim credit. It isn't that our intel agencies found this out. And I would just point out, it's not just Iran. China has incredible cyber capability. And when I chaired the Commission on National Defense Strategy in 2024, we were briefed on the fact, it wasn't classified, that China might try a major attack on cyber attack on U.S. infrastructure ahead of or contiguous with some effort to annex Taiwan. So we're not ready for this. You asked me, sorry.
No.
What was the other thing you asked me?
Well, I was asking you about whether this 7 versus 10 day time frame, and you said both. I mean, you did answer it. You think it's both. It's serving both Iran and the president, giving himself more time.
Well, let's see what the deadline is tomorrow morning or tomorrow lunch. I mean, his deadlines move around very quickly. And remember the TACO acronym, Trump always chickens out. I want to add to that the CACO acronym, Congress always chickens out. Let's see what the House does with this TSA bill now.
Designed to ditch the instant coffee. This is way better. You see, coffee should be one of the healthiest things in our diet, but research shows that instant coffee contains 4 times the amount of mycotoxins as regular coffee, and is often dark roasted, which destroys most of coffee's healthiest compounds.
Director Brennan, a senior White House official told MS Now the president is, quote, getting a little bored with Iran, and he just wants to declare victory and move on. And the Wall Street Journal reports the Pentagon is weighing whether to send 10,000 ground troops to the Middle East to give Trump more military options. They cite Defense Department officials with knowledge on that one. But that would mark a major escalation because we know thousands of Marines and airborne troops have already been ordered to the region. So what should we make of that contradiction?
Well, I think with your previous question of this deadline, a charitable interpretation of that is to give negotiations more time to see whether or not there could be a compromise reached, as well as to give U.S. military forces the opportunity to set the battlefield and to prepare for what I would think is going to be a horrific escalation of hostilities if, in fact, we use these forces, these Marines and others, to land. I'm not surprised also if Donald Trump is getting bored with this. This is going on, I think, far longer than he or his advisors thought would happen. And it appears that the Iranians are going to continue to be defiant and will be able to survive this military onslaught. But we know that Donald Trump jumps from one thing to another. It's a way to either deflect attention from any of the challenges that he faces, but also this really requires, tremendous strategic thinking as far as how we're going to get ourselves out of this mess. And it's clear that, to me at least, that the Trump administration doesn't know what the appropriate next step is, particularly in light of the continued challenges that we face in the Strait of Hormuz and the Iranian ability to continue to be able to send missiles at Gulf states and Israel. And this war seems, there's no sense that it's coming to a close. In fact, the potential for escalation, I think, is very real and very, very worrisome.
Congressman David Remnick in The New Yorker writes, quote, in war, truth is the first casualty. Sometimes the culprit is the observer, the propagandizing correspondent. mythologizing historian. Now, 3 weeks into a war of choice, the chief offender is the President of the United States. And as you've heard, the president said Iran posed an imminent threat, but there's no evidence of that. He said the war has already been won. Clearly, we see, and to the director's point, that is not true. He says this isn't a war per se. What do you do when you can't trust your president to tell the truth about a life or death situation?
Well, to repeat something I just said, Congress gets in the game and authorizes or not the use of military force in Iran. What we're seeing, I think, in addition to what John said, which I agree with, is a divergence of the military mission and the diplomatic mission. The military mission is full-on mission creep at this point. And we've seen this movie in Vietnam, in Afghanistan, in Iraq, in our endless wars that this president said he would never repeat. So I see that, and I do see our young soldiers, brave soldiers, in harm's way. But if the president's bored, good God, what have we won here? Let's understand that reports are that we've only destroyed a third of Iran's missiles. I think we've hardened their regime. They are composed in a way that we can decapitate layer after layer, and they get stronger. And we've now given them sanctions relief, so they're even stronger. And they still have a big card to play in the Strait of Hormuz. I think a card that Trump is missing is to form an international coalition, which is available to him to police the Strait of Hormuz and also to back up efforts after this to keep Iran weak. And by the way, if we hadn't pulled out of the JCPOA, we would be in a stronger position with respect to Iran's nukes, which are still there, their capacity. And the highly enriched uranium is still deep underground. And for all we know, maybe moved around now. So it's even harder to capture or recapture if we're able to do it.
But we begin back in Iran, where the United States and Israel continues to strike hundreds of targets every single day. Joining us now with more, Jonathan Hunt is live from Israel with the latest. Good evening, Jonathan.
Good evening to you, Lawrence. And there is concerning news first tonight out of Saudi Arabia, where an Iranian attack on the Prince Sultan base there has damaged at least several U.S. refueling tankers and injured around a dozen servicemen. We are awaiting more details from that, but that reporting from that coming, of course, as President Trump continues to say that the U.S. is winning in this conflict and winning easily. Here's the president.
Again, they have no anti-aircraft, so we're just floating over the top looking for whatever we want, and we're hitting it, and we have another 3,554 targets left. And
emphasizing that point, the U.S. can and regime targets in Tehran and throughout Iran. What the U.S. military has not been able to do so far, or perhaps has not been willing to do so far, is reopen the Strait of Hormuz, that commercially critical strait that remains all but closed to commercial shipping at the moment. That is causing economic problems, of course, with the markets down and the price of oil up. And the Iranian parliamentary speaker effectively trolled President Trump today on X, saying, quote, "They've spammed so much fake news trying to push energy prices down that the market's just numb now. Keep going. Nobody's buying it anymore." So Iranian officials, at least publicly, still talking tough, even as President Trump says privately they are negotiating. And of course,
you're watching live now. I'm Austin Westfall. We are getting some breaking news relating to the war in the Middle East. Few outlets reporting this, saying an Iranian missile struck the Prince Sultan Air Base in Saudi Arabia on Friday, wounding multiple U.S. service members and damaging several U.S. refueling aircraft. This is something that we're going to continue to track as the night goes on. We don't have any specific numbers on casualties or military hardware that may have been struck in this event. We do have standing by retired Marine Intelligence Officer, National Security Analyst, and the host of the Strat podcast, Hal Kempfer. Hal, are you familiar with Prince Sultan Air Base?
I am familiar with PSAP. Yes. Yeah.
You know,
It's been a base. I mean, it's a base we've used for a long period of time. There was a period of time we weren't using it. It was a couple years after 9/11. We pulled because of concerns about security. We pulled a lot of our stuff out of there. But it's a very capable, very robust air base. We've used it for many, many years, and it's one of those things that the Saudis and us work collaboratively on very well. And it's also always been considered a base that was far enough back that it was considered more secure or safe. Obviously, that threat assessment has changed.
Dave Brown with the Wall Street Journal does have some numbers. He's 10 U.S. service members wounded, 2 of them seriously. Again, we'll wait for more reporting to give us a little more clarity on what might have happened here. But again, Hal, this is a reminder that there's a lot of U.S. Air defense systems in the region, but these things don't work perfectly.
Right now we're intercepting over 90% of the stuff that comes in, but that means 10% gets in. And, if they fire a lot of, fire 100 ballistic missiles, that means 10 of them are going to hit something. And of course, in this case, at least one got through, hit PSAP. What I understand was there were KC-135s, which are big refueling aircraft. If you recall, there was a catastrophic event with a KC-135 that was flying over, I believe it was Iraq, over Western Iraq not too long ago. But they're workhorses. That's what keeps a lot of our planes, our strike aircraft in the air, allows for these longer, deep strikes into places like eastern Iran or southern Iran if it's coming down from the north. And so they're tremendously valuable assets. That's something we do. I think we do that better. Well, I know we do that better than any place else in the world in terms of in-flight refueling. But in some reports, there were about 5 of them that were on the tarmac or on the airfield exposed when the strike came in. From what I understand, and it's all kind of slowly eking out. We haven't had any confirmation on this. At least one of the aircraft was damaged. I don't know if it was destroyed, but I am not surprised that we would have casualties in those numbers. And frankly, even one of those big ballistic missiles coming in, if it hits close, can have some pretty significant impact. I would point to what happened up in Kuwait as an example of what can happen when one of those warhead strikes in proximity of where our troops are.
We'll have to look for official word from the U.S. military as the night goes.